Anybody?
What did you make of Bryan Bresee's freshman year, and what is the next step for a guy like that?
Man, Bryan, came in day one and was, excellent pass rusher, man, could really get off the football and, had some work to do in the run game. He really went to work in that aspect of it and, really was outstanding his freshman year. 10-game starter and, led all true freshmen defensive tackles and sacks with 4. So, I mean, you can't have much better year than he had as a freshman. But he has really been working hard and had a great spring and really starting to take it to another level. And that's what we've challenged him on, just to, max out his abilities and to get better in the run game and not just focus on pass rush.
Todd, with the defense, this defense as a whole, does it feel like the resurgence of the defense is going to start on the interior of the defensive line with your guys?
Man, it always starts up front. It's up front first and then inside out. And our guys have taken that approach. We had a sour taste in our mouth coming off that last game we played this season against Ohio State. And our guys, man, they've owned it and just really focused on getting more physical and, reestablishing that defensive line, man, and that line of scrimmage. So that's been fun to watch, and those guys are working their tails off.
Along those same lines, Coach Grisham was saying this is probably the most physical spring that he's seen since he's been here. Would you agree with that? And kind of how did that decision come about?
Oh man, I think the players made a decision that, hey, we're gonna come out. We got out physical, so we're gonna come out in the spring and be physical. And that charge also started with Coach Swinney driving that. And those guys, man, they really went to work in the weight room. A lot of times, when you get out physical like that, that's where it starts. And so a lot of guys went to their individual part of that and just really recommitted themselves to that weight room.
How sobering was that? Because this program isn't used to being pushed around like it was. How much of it was sort of a check on the whole sort of program's identity?
Well, I think humble pie is the best kind of pie. And our guys, man, you got to sometimes you got to get that chip back on your shoulder. That regardless, who tells you you're great, you got to come hungry every day, and you got to come humble every day to go out and work hard. And we put that chip back on our shoulder and try to get game reps in practice. And that's what Coach Gresham was talking about, being able to go out there and compete every day, man, and sharpen each other. And CHIP stands for compete how I practice, man, and it shouldn't be any difference from the game to the practice field. And that's what we had to get back to.
Seems like you have no shortage of leaders on the defensive line. Did you see anyone really take that next step there this offseason?
Man, I've been just really pleased with Tyler Davis. He's took it to another level, and Bryan has also been a leader for us over the summer. And then we've got defensive ends. You can probably reach in a hat and pick a name out of the defensive ends who have came in and been leaders and bright spots and just trying to take our group to the next level, man. Putting in extra work. KJ Henry, Justin Foster, all those guys have done a great job.
How did you guys receive the news that Justin had decided to unretire and return to football?
I can't even show you right now if I'm sitting down. I got to stand up to show you. But I was, man, leaping for joy, man, because I know the type of young man this guy is, man. He's a rock solid guy who's going to, be where he's supposed to be, doing what he's supposed to do, and just a relentless after, becoming the best version of him. And he also brings people with him. That's probably the best quality. He's bringing people with him, and so we're thrilled to have him back.
Recruiting philosophy-wise, when things opened up, I know a lot of schools were doing officials in the summer and that kind of stuff, and you guys stuck with playing no officials in the summer. So did y'all talk about that at all? Was there any discussion, and what was that like?
Man, that was great. Just knowing who you are, your DNA, your identity. We've never done that as far as bringing guys in on official visits in the spring or the summer. And we stuck to who we are, and it served us well. Guys who really wanted to come see us, they came. And it worked out for us. So I'm really thrilled with where we are right now, and class to come together great.
Is that going to pay off too, you feel like, in the fall when you guys still have all the officials you can use and some of these schools are running out?
Yes, sir, because that's your best, that's your best bullet that you have. That's being able to show a game day experience, and I'm glad we still have ours in our back pocket.
Can you give us an update on DeMonte and Tre Williams, sort of the year that they had, and sort of how there feels like they're maybe in a better position now?
Yes, sir.
To make an impact.
Both guys, very young guys, had some maturing to do, and injury, bit by the injury snake, and just overcoming adversity in that department. Kept a good perspective in the way that they stayed engaged and locked in on what we're trying to do. And I'm thrilled with where they both are on this day, man. Just really, when a lot of adversity hits a young man that's a freshman, sometimes it caves them in, and it takes a while to get them back. DeMonte, was injured a little bit and has went through some things, and he still has a good head on his shoulders. Tre Williams comes in, coming off of a shoulder surgery and has to get another one, and he's back to healthy now. And those guys kept a good mentality, man, and a good mindset, and they made the time count. A lot of guys will miss that time and not gain anything from it. Well, they've learned, our playbook. They've learned, and they're just a year older, a year wiser, and just look forward to seeing them.
Coach, with as good a position group as you've had over the years, how do you measure progress this year? Is it more difficult for you because you know where the bar is, or is it easier because you and the players know where the bar is?
Well, I tell you what, man, I think, we don't really get into comparisons about other teams, but within our unit, but we have a good gauge of what somebody's best looks like, what somebody's capable of, and we got a lot of potential in the room, and really just trying to focus on improving every day and getting better every day, and trying to make sure we max this room out to what they can be. And it doesn't hurt to have, the Power Rangers that were here a couple of years ago. That film lives on forever, and you can see what it looks like and what you want it to be. And that's inspiring for our guys. So just really look forward to seeing them this season and this fall camp take their game to another level.
Coach, how big was the spring for Ruke after being injured most of last season?
I was big for Ruke, man. Ruke's what came in as a very raw player, and only a few years experience playing the game. And he's really, applied himself. He's really, been in there trying to be a student of the game and learning from myself and other players who've played this game a long time. And it's just been a breath of fresh air to see him grow. You can just see it. It's incremental growth from day one to now, and just really looking forward to him taking the field this season, man, and developing into the role that he's going to have this season.
Todd, what will it take for this group to kind of match that Power Rangers level of success?
Well, the first thing, man, is just show up every day with that chip on your shoulder, compete how you practice, and being consistent from top to bottom, and that's just maturity. And some days you're not going to feel like it, but come in every day, man, and just roll your sleeves up and go to work with that lunch pail mentality.
How often was Tyler healthy last year?
Oh man, he was in and out. He was in and out. I mean, and it was things out, injuries out of your control. Nobody wakes up and say, man, I want to get hurt today. But it happened to him, and it was very frustrating for him because he is one of the leaders on the D-line, and guys perform differently when he's out there with them. They have a different confidence because they know he can help them because he's the most knowledgeable D-lineman we have. And so I know it was really, hard for him, especially, early in the season when we're playing Notre Dame and he knows he can make a difference in the game. So, he's really been fortifying his body and working, not just, what the great ones do is they turn rehab to prehab, and they try to prevent it from happening again. Yes, sir.
You probably already answered this, but with Bresee, what are the sort of the top of your list on how they can build on?
I'd say, man, his run game. So his run game stuff, just as far as his, coming in, he was taking too big of steps, getting caught with his feet in the air. You get knocked back whenever your feet are in the air. So always trying to take smaller steps in the run game and kind of having like a thermometer, if you will, on how far, like in pass, when it's passing downs, you can take those big steps. You want to gain as much ground as possible. But in the run game, that's so far from the truth. You want to take 6-inch steps at that's the biggest steps you want to take. And that's something that he's really worked on. And then just his block recognition and understanding, things that can help you with that pre-snap. And he's done a phenomenal, he's grown so much. Like in the spring, he's probably the most improved guy. And he already had his ceiling's all the way up here on what he could be. And for him to be most improved, that tells me that, he's trending in the right direction. It's just a thing around here, that Power Rangers group, what I would say about them was the best players, they worked the hardest and improved the most. And that's what we're trying to get back to. Working the hardest, improving the most. Always having something to prove. Never showing up like, man, I don't feel like it. I don't know. Christian Wilkins had to have a bad day at some point, but I never experienced that with him. And I'm not saying I've experienced that with anybody in this group, but that's something that you got to show up. That's a mentality. That's a mindset. Just showing up ready to work, regardless what's going on outside of your life. LEAD stands for let's eliminate all distractions. And if we're going to lead the way, we got to eliminate the distractions.
I feel like with the group as a whole, I know during the spring y'all had a lot of attrition. I guess people had to sit out. You're still able to get a good sort of foundation and feel for where you are.
Yes, we were, man. It was a great spring, and we needed a physical spring. We needed we need to have every bit of that physicality in those competition drills that we had, and we needed the off time in the weight room. We were so young last year. You're talking about Tyler Davis being a leader of defensive tackle. He was a sophomore last year, and Bryan Bresee started at the other one. He's a true freshman, and we had other guys who hadn't played, and now you don't have that. You got guys with experience, and who knows what it takes. Bryan didn't know what it took to play, 12 games at that high level like that, all of them being, in conference games at that level. So that's what they've got now. They got that experience, man, and experience is going to help them. It's going to serve them well.
Do you have a good feel for who your third guy is right now?
Well, it could be a number of guys, man. We're looking forward to camp, and it'll sort itself out. Like I said, you got Ruke, you got Darnell, you got Trey, you got E.T., you got all those guys who have been here. Darnell he came in here in 18, and he really got better this spring. He really applied himself and got better. Ruke got better, improved. Trey got better, and we just got to do that again. We got to repeat that, and let's see how much better we can get in camp.
So you like where Bresee is pass rush?
I do. He is. I like where he's at. And he's still got things to work on, but he is he's really grown. He came in already with the ability to rush the passer, but he really got even better, just using his speed to power a little better. His hand placement and precision was already on par, but learning to add the speed to power to the moves that you have, it just makes, it's just like a running back. If a running back is, if all he has is power, you're going to be able to anchor down and prepare for that. But if he has the ability to, like C.J. Spiller used to make you move, then you got to get your feet hot, and you don't know if he's coming with power or he's coming with the finesse, and it's going to make you look bad. So that's the same mindset as a defensive lineman, man. You got to have speed to power to keep him honest and to start off with. I do have that power that you've seen on film, but then I also have the ability to blow by you. So that's what we're trying to do, man. You want all your pass rushers to have that ability to go speed to power and to also have be able to speed rush, be able to also have the hand accuracy, which Bryan has.
What was the most impressive speed to power snapshot of last year during the season that you can maybe recall?
Probably Bryan's first sack. He had against Wake Forest. That was a pretty good one. He stabbed the guy and was able to cross space with a swim and make a sack. And Justin Foster has a great speed to power game. A lot of our guys, Tyler Davis presses the pocket. A lot of them really focus on that, and they believe in what we're teaching them and trying to master the craft.
The way offensive football has evolved, defensive ends are so involved in so many more ways than they used to be with horizontal stuff and the read games. It's more important now than ever to have the interior pass rush. Maybe.
It all works together. Like, I don't think it's a part that's more important than the other. You got a 4-man front. Those guys inside, they got to press the pocket. They got to be able to work together and keep the pass rush lanes even as the slide of the protection goes, working against the grain. And then those guys outside, they got to keep contained. And that's not saying they can't make an inside move, but it's saying you got to be on the upfield shoulder of the quarterback. So if you make an inside move, get back to the upfield shoulder.
When you have a back seven as good as you have, does that knowledge kind of give those guys up front that much more thirst, I guess, to be relentless, when things break down and be able to chase the quarterback around the pocket?
Yes, I think you always have to have, those quarterbacks, they have a clock in their head. I think D linemen, it's important for you to have a clock in your head too. And what I mean by that is knowing, how much time you got to get there, on a drop back pass or whatever. For example, it may be 2.5 seconds. It may be 2 seconds one week. And, if you're in the middle of a move, if it's taking you forever to set a move up that you're doing, you're wasting time and you're not helping, you're playing for the other team. So have that clock in your head and prepare that way. Take that mindset to practice and pass rush. Take that mindset to team pass that week to where you practice actually on that clock. I'm going to rush for a 1.5 seconds if I got 2 seconds, and I'm going to get ready to get my hands up. I'm going to press this guy in the quarterback's lap. So that's what you got to do, man. That's what our guys do. Part of their pass rush plan is understanding the clock.
Coach, what do you think makes Clemson so compelling to recruits?
Man, I tell you what, the culture. I think that's the number one thing. We have a special culture here. Coach. It all starts with Coach Sweeney, and it all starts with the person first. So when you come in here, the first thing that players want to do is they want to meet the players, the current players, and they see that they're surrounded by good people. That's number one. And then when they meet the staff as well, they see they're surrounded by good people because that's what Coach Sweeney starts with. And I think that sets up, for a great experience. Number one, that's what mom and dad want to know. They want to know that their kid is going to be taken care of. And you're around some good people. That's a great start. Yep.
What's your diagnosis of why it was so hard for the defense to get sick Super Bowl so long?
We got to have a sense of urgency up front, man. We get that call. When you see the call, have a sense of urgency to put your hand in the dirt. Like so many times, you can't be just looking over here and not have a relationship with where the center is. And we've practiced this, man. Just everybody's gonna have tempo. Everybody's gonna have a different type of tempo because that was a different type of tempo we faced. That was, huddle up to about 10 seconds and then sprint to the line. Well, you got to get the call and be already in spot in your place, and then where you can just put your hand down. And having young guys last season, a lot of times we didn't have guys that know both positions by the strength of the formation. So we've really worked hard on that, man, on more guys. That was my number one thing, as far as getting guys knowledge brought up to where they can play nose tackle or 3 technique, where they can play the end to the call and the end away from the call. And that takes work on their part, and so that's a credit to them. They've really fixed it.
So they're flipping the formation and you're not reacting.
Well, they again being able to line up being able to know, oh, okay, right, Skalski calls right. Well, the end to the call is supposed to be over here. And sometimes instead of standing in the middle and then sprinting over there to get lined up, that's the issue.
It's hard to be physical.
Yeah.
Lined up, so
Yeah.
that was the root of it more than just getting physically overwhelmed.
It all works hand in hand. I've played D-line and I know what that feels like. And you just can't be casual. You know, you can't be, you know, okay, let me put my hand down. You got to be able to do it quickly. And, you know, that's what we got to improve, and that's what we've worked on. We've worked on being able to, number one, expand our knowledge of the playbook to where we know more than one position. It's very important that you know what your guys inside are doing, what your outside guys are doing. And so that you can play faster. I know I can't go out there because he's out there. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we've really worked on.
You mentioned Skalski, you got ejected in the second quarter of that Ohio State game. Of course, you got ejected in the LSU game as well. You missed the Notre Dame game in South Bend. But just how valuable is that guy, having that guy on the field?
He's a coach on the field, man. I mean, all of our guys respect him. He puts in the work. He's up here as much as anybody watching tape. And he just, again, a coach on the field. I can't stress that enough, how comfortable you feel just with, you know, having that guy out there. You know that he knows what all four of those guys are doing. If one of them ain't lined up right, he's gonna line up. He's gonna get them lined up right. He's gonna tap them on the rear and get them lined up right. Yes, sir.
Sort of been asked this before, but you know, when it comes to the D line and having so many guys back, where does that put you just, you know, taking that next step this season?
Well, I tell you what, we got 7 guys up front that have started the game, and that puts you, number one, having experience, something that we didn't have a lot of last year, especially inside with starters. You know, Tyler Davidson and Bryan were the starters. Tyler started a year, but Bryan had never started to start the season. And then Myles Murphy had never started to start the season. And now we have that. So I think, you know, guys understand, you know, what it takes. And so they were able to, you know, add that commitment and dedication on where they were lacking coming from high school. So I think that's the biggest, you know, difference that you'll see this year is that all of them know what it takes. They're all seasoned. It's just something that, you know, they say seasoning makes food better. It also makes football better, football players better.
When you have two guys like Bryan and Myles who have so much success at, you know, at a young age, you know, how exciting is that for you to see them just, you know, kind of come on the scene like that?
Man, that's exciting. I mean, because, you know, having, you know, we got a recent history of having guys do exactly what they've done. You know, you go back to 15, Christian Wilkins comes in, he becomes a freshman All-American. The next year, Dexter Lawrence, freshman All-American. And then, you know, 18, bring in Xavier Thomas, freshman All-American. And then you get to Myles and Bryan. And you got Tyler Davis. I missed him at 19. He's the same thing, freshman All-American, led all true freshmen defensive tackles and sacks. And then Bryan turns around and does the same thing. So you got a track record, and it starts with Coach Venables and his schemes and getting guys, you know, trained and thinking the right way, and just trying to push them to become the best version of them and understand the game on another level. There's so much growth and development that takes place from day one when you walk on campus until your last game of the season. And then it's a whole nother jump from that last game to the end of spring. You learn so much, and then the summer, man, it's just amazing, you know, the work that they put in and where they are now compared to when they first got here.
And this season, just that standard, I guess, that they see, noting that track record of
Yes, having seen it, you know, the guys that come before them, because film never dies and it never lies, and you get a chance to see all those guys that came before you, and not just their highlights, you get to also see their lowlights and see that they struggled some like you did, but you see also that they just brought it every play. So you through the good and bad, the highlights and the lowlights, that effort has to be always here. You know what I'm saying? It has to be consistent. So that's really what we're trying to get instilled in our guys, that we're, man, on the low, we don't let that low light affect our next play. We don't let that highlight affect our next play. It's going to be the same effort, and it don't matter who we're playing.
Bryan has drawn some comparisons to J.J. Watt. What are your thoughts on that?
I can see the size and the motor and, you know, just natural gifts and abilities as far as hand accuracy. And I think Bryan has the ability to develop into, you know, just a, you know, great defensive lineman. And he's definitely on the right track, but we got some work to do in that department before I can give him a J.J. Watt. J.J., two-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, and I study him a lot in the offseason, man. And just to try to, when you got guys with different body types and, or similar to somebody in the NFL, I think you do them a service, and you may pick up on a technique or two. And I see some of that in Bryan, just as far as being able to pass rush and being relentless in the way he works. And he just got to continue to develop. You know, this is his second year, but he definitely has potential to be special.
Chris, Tre Williams, what do you think about Tre this year and where he's at last year? The injury he had to go through later. He showed flashes. The guy came out of high school just a monster. And the other guy, Peyton Page, you got two guys right there that just are automatic performance. Tell me about Peyton, what you've seen out of him so far. Tre knows that.
Yes, sir. So you mentioned it. Tre flashed last year. I think he had, against Georgia Tech, he played like 11 snaps and made 4 tackles. And I tell you what, flash and staying on is two different things. I'm trying to get him to stay on and be consistent, but he's got the ability, he's got the potential, and he's had a great offseason. He had a great spring and has worked hard all summer, has gotten his body in shape to where he can improve his play capacity. You know, that's one thing that I challenged him on from day one when he arrived in the summer, was getting in shape and being able to play more than 3 or 4 snaps, be able to give me 6 to 8, and he's really working toward that, man. So I look forward to this fall camp and just letting him put it all together, because he's finally healthy. That's one thing that he struggled being since he's gotten here. He's finally there, man. So I'm excited about Tre, man.
You know, I was talking to Mickey. You're their best friend this year. That defensive line that you're going to be able to pull off there is going to be able to take up 2 guys in the gaps with the tackles. It frees up his ends, and also frees up those guys back. They don't have to hold that defensive back so long routes.
Yes, sir.
This is last year you had pieces there, but you didn't have the depth because of stuff like Tre being injured and things like that.
Right.
And people don't realize all that those little nicks and injuries, that adds up during the season. Those kids play hurt all the time.
No doubt. And the defense.
You can't play with a bad shoulder. You can't play with a bad knee. It's half the body.
Right. A defensive lineman and a big boy period, O-line, D-line, they're going to, at some point in time, you got to do a great job of prehabbing. And so that's what they've been doing now. I always tell my guys, most places that you break down within a season are shoulder, elbow, wrist, hip, knee, ankle. So the joints, you got to really do a good job of, that's where you got to put the work in. And a lot of times your strength coach doesn't have time to put those little intricacies into the big scheme of workouts. But if you go to them and you say, hey coach, I'm gonna come in here extra and I want to work on my shoulder, my elbow, my wrist, my knee, my hip, my ankle, they'll build a regimen for you to do that complements what you're already doing as a team. And that's where we've made our hay, man. Just guys going in there and doing the prehab work. You asked me about Peyton Page. He came in and he was I think he was 380 plus, and man, he's worked his tail off. He's down now to like 339, man, and really getting in shape. And I really look forward to, seeing that difference and just being able to move, because he could move already at 380, and but he's now lost 40 pounds, man, 40 something pounds.